Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Willamette Valley Concert Band Spring Concert, Composer Legacy. We're so glad you could join us today as we celebrate music of talented composers who have shaped the world of band music. From classical influences to contemporary works, our program highlights composers who have left an indelible mark on the band world. Their compositions not only reflect the diversity and creativity that exists within the band genre. When we speak of a composer's legacy, it is the influence from their predecessors as well as their influence on future generations. We ask why composers chose a particular use of texture or instrumentation. We ask how the culture of a composer's time influenced their decision to pick just that one particular tune. A composer's legacy is like a family tree, whereas they are but a single branch. Now, the audience, some of you had a wonderful opportunity this afternoon to listen to the pre-concert lecture, Musical Genealogy, given by local composers featured in tonight's concert, Dr. Mike Merrill and Dr. David Jones. I'm fighting the urge to put an Indiana in there. I keep hearing, Dr. Jones. As the season of renewal and growth surrounds us, we hope this concert provides a sense of rejuvenation and connection, both through the music and the shared experience of this wonderful community. Now, we would like to apologize at this time, as none of our pieces tonight include audience participation. A big group. Thank you. They'll do anything. Therefore, lighted cellular screens will not be required. Thank you, Mrs. Buter. We also ask that you please silence all electronic devices, including the aforementioned cell phones, so as not to distract from your neighbors' experiences. And today's performance is being recorded for promotional use by the Willamette Valley Concert Band by the amazing and awesome Albany Performing Arts Center and West Albany High School staff team. And today that's Brian and Lillian. So later on, if you want to thank them, you can thank Brian and Lillian. Remember those names. Our first song, Sky Splitter, by Vincent J. Obido. A rising talent in Hollywood and a Long Island native, Vincent Obido wrote Sky Splitter as an undergraduate student at George Mason University in 2006 under the commission of world-renowned composer and music educator Anthony Maiello for the Texas Music Educators Association Symphonic Honor Band. His first job in Hollywood as a music proofreader enabled him to work on dozens of motion pictures and television shows, including, you may have heard of one of these, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Frozen, Family Guy, and the 2013 Oscars. Who can't recall the 2013 Oscars? His scoring credits include Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, Fortnite, the indie films Alien Code, Watch the Sky, and the college humor series Troopers: Rise of the Budget. He has also composed additional music for projects including Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order, Star Wars Squadrons, Jedi Temple Challenge, Star Wars Hunters, Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween, and True TV's Adam Ruins Everything, Reanimated History. More recently, Vincent collaborated with Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, someone else you may have heard his name, something about space, science, and the United States Air Force Band of the West to compose Cosmic Escapades. As a student of the composer Mark Camphouse and an understudy of John Williams, I invite you to take a listen to the soaring, sweeping fanfare that is one of his earliest works, Sky Splitter, and see if you can hear some of those influences. I think the best part of all of that John Williams study that the composer did is we could tell when the ending was coming. Really wonderful. From the Shannon. The original work of this, the original version of this work, entitled Azanchinin, translated as From the Shannon, has actually several different pronunciations in its Irish form, depending on who you ask. And Michael mentioned that to me, and Michael, I'm sorry to say, I checked. And he's absolutely right. I cannot believe how many different helpful pronunciations there are of that phrase on the internet from people in Ireland. And there's one wonderful site that it goes from north to south, all the different dialects that, and all the different ways they say this. So there's almost not a wrong way to do it, almost. It'll probably be however I just pronounced it. It was selected as the winner of the University of Limerick's Music for Ceremony and Celebration Composition Competition in 2011. As such, it is the official music for all graduation ceremonies at the University of Limerick in Limerick, Ireland. Americans graduate to English music, as you probably well know, pomp and circumstance, and now the Irish are starting to march to American music. That's kind of wild, right? In its original form for organ and trumpet solo, it's a collection of 3 processionals and 1 recessional, with each processional designated for graduates. For clarification, because the composer learned this at the premier graduation ceremony, a student became a graduand when they've met the requirements for graduation and then becomes a graduate. Oh, I see, the graduand. Becomes a graduate after the diploma and tassel and stuff. The faculty and the university president, respectively. In this altered version, specifically adapted for a concert setting, the entrance of the academics has become honor. Entrance of the president is now wisdom. And entrance of the graduands and the recessional have been put back together to make the finale called Glory. What you are about to hear is a world premiere, though the quote-unquote original version has been played multiple times each year since 2019. In fact, tonight's rendition is the true original version of how the composer intended the piece to be performed. What happened was, it's story time, when he submitted his drafts to the awards committee, they selected it as the winner on the condition of some slight adjustments to the movement titles and form of the work as a whole. Thus, Glory was split into 2 separate movements. The full version for organ and trumpet was dubbed recessional, and a new setting of it for organ solo was created for the first processional, the entrance of the graduands. With an obvious twinkle in his eye, and more than a little bit of cheek and cheesiness on his part, in honor of the piece being written for the University of Limerick, the first 2 movements are actually written in a musical version of the Limerick poetic form, A-A-B-B-A. Try to hear those themes in that particular setting. And now, with special thanks to the Lynn County Cultural Coalition for the commission of this piece, we now perform the world premiere of our very own Mike Merrill's original vision of From the Shannon. How many people noticed the limerick theme, form, the AABBA? Anybody catch that a little bit? I saw a couple, yeah? A couple people trying to follow that along. Well done, Michael. Sorry, Dr. Merrill. British composer Gustav Holst paved the way for modern concert band music. Other composers had written for groups of wind and percussion instruments before, sometimes called bands, but Holst's two suites for military band signaled a change toward the ensemble we now know as a concert band. Holst's second suite in F, composed in 1911, is one of the first compositions originally written for military band. Not an arrangement or a transcription from orchestra, as was common practice at the time. The suite uses English folk songs and folk dance tunes throughout. The opening march uses three tunes: a Morris dance, the folk song Swansea Town, ending with Cloudy Banks, brimming with vitality and a vibrant sound of unison clarinets. The first two tunes are repeated to conclude the first movement. If you've never been privy to a Morris dance, I suppose I should suggest you research that later on your own time, but it's fascinating. The second movement is a setting for the English folk song, I Love My Love. It is a sad story of a young maiden driven into bedlam by grief over her lover being sent to sea by his parents to prevent their marriage. Then the Hampshire folk song, The Song of the Blacksmith, is the basis of the third movement, which evokes visions of sparks from red-hot metal being beaten with a lively hammer's rhythm on the blacksmith's anvil. Yikes, I can't say blacksmith's anvil. Would you give us an example, please, Anvil, of that sound? Listen for that, you can't miss it. The English country dance and folk song, the Dargason, dating from the 16th century, completes the suite in a manner that continues to cycle and seems to have no end. The Elizabethan love tune Greensleeves is intertwined briefly and withdrawn before the final witty scoring of a piccolo and tuba duet, 4 octaves apart, because of course. And now, Second Suite in F for Military Band by Gustav Holst. We will now take a short 15-minute intermission. It's your chance to stretch your legs and maybe even hum a few of these tunes in the lobby. As you are walking out, we'd like to remind you the Willamette Concert Band is a non-profit organization dedicated to bringing free concerts to the community. We rely entirely on grants and generous donations from supporters like you. Tonight, all donations will go towards scholarships for young local musicians, helping the next generation of talent thrive. You can donate with cash or check, in person or easily online, by visiting wvcband.org. That's WVC for Willamette Valley Concert, band.org, or scanning the QR code in the program. Every little bit helps, and we greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy your break, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes for the second half of the concert.
whole replacement. Like many years. sometimes I call for a spring base. Well, we've had spring base too. You just have to be careful you don't overpower the band with amplification.
You can turn it up or down.
Well, yeah, everybody else is amplified. Which church you play in? Mark and the family go to First Baptist. They're married. They do. Personally, I prefer great big room shaking pipe organ and singing hymns that I know.
I have some.
Yeah. And you know what I'm talking about.
My mother was an organist.
Yes, you play keyboards as well. You can play a tuning room. That's what I can play.
Tuning now, yeah. Like chopsticks.
What's in the really crowd is like a real one. They spread out.
Yeah, we were up there. We're sitting behind Donna Perfect. So she's known you for a long time.
Donna's on the front row.
Yeah, it's actually the second row.
You're on the second row. Donna.
No, but so that's actually there's actually a row in front of where.
Oh, there is. Okay.
I might have had Michigan losing, but my bracket's your bracket. I know. Well, my bracket already beat up on day one.
With that ballad.
Like, what the heck? I was except I had stronger language. I was hanging out.
Say again now. Well, send an email to what's in the program, and she'll have you in your database. We can call you up either for ongoing or for special. I remember one piece we had. We need a bass guitar on this piece. And there wasn't anybody volunteering, so it would be good.
Have one on the list, yeah. Okay.
I appreciate you coming. And you had something else going on, didn't you, Douglas?
Yeah, now we're headed to Led Zeppelin.
Oh, you did not make it.
We're headed there now.
Oh, you got to go there.
Yeah, it's tonight.
Skip the second half. Or?
Yeah, skipping the second half.
Oh, too bad. You'll get the river for a while.
I know, but can't do everything.
This is
At least we got to hear the first half. I even didn't know the daughter except for your told me.
Yeah. Well, you don't listen to the station at all?
I listen some, but I heard Mary at lunchtime. She does stuff at lunchtime, right?
Yeah. And Dad should have popped up. Very well from America. Pardon me?
9:20.
So 9:20 a.m. and 94.1 FM.
Oh, that's right.
And then 1580 a.m. which plays this a lot more.
Thank you.
That's
The music station, that's another.
I know. I think I still have my pair from high school.
Well, never
And that's
Led
the
Zeppelin.
last one I bought up there.
We do have a couple.
Like my senior year in high school, 25 years ago. But I needed a new pair of black shoes, and I saw some You seem more familiar, and you're trying to make your comeback. You're trying.
Yeah, I did say that. I meant Blue FM.
Of course, I had like that had like shorts and like this funky
Everybody plays. Well, drive careful.
Yeah, you should like
Nelson
money
Horns?
to buy those things.
They've got a nice one
They
They
do. The theater organist. You're
No, I haven't. But one of the ushers, I was talking to one of the ushers, and he was pointing out, that whole thing up there is the pipe organ. There's the keyboard on there. But he said that the big group.
she wasn't planning to. She was coming to rehearsal, but she wasn't planning to go.
While David Jones was a college student, he would make the road trip between the Pacific Northwest and eastern Idaho several times each year. Every time he would travel through I-84 and that beautiful stretch of the Columbia River Gorge, which, as we all know, is one of the loveliest drives in the world. And it's hard not to fall in love with that scenery. Dr. Jones chose to express the rugged, natural landscape in the form of a lively dance. Our next piece, the Columbia Quick Step. It'll be conducted by our assistant conductor, who you've met, Mike Merrill, who also, oh yes, by all means. He also happens to be a former classmate of Dr. Jones. And it's our pleasure to announce that the composer is here with us today in the audience. And now, the Columbia Quick Step. Michael Merrill is announcing to me that there's a typo in the notes that Michael Merrill typed for me. It's Columbia River Quick Step. Now applause. We've already had a concert full of treats, from getting to hear host played to having composers, plural, in the building while we performed their music. Now buckle up. Robert W. Smith's Symphony No. 1, The Divine Comedy. Robert W. Smith is one of the most popular and prolific composers in America today. He has over 600 publications in print, with the majority composed and arranged through his long association with Warner Brothers Publications and the Bellwin Catalog. His original works for winds and percussion have been programmed throughout the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, South America, and Asia. His Symphony No. 1, The Divine Comedy, Symphony No. 2, The Odyssey, and Symphony No. 3, Don Quixote, and Africa Ceremony, Song, and Ritual have received worldwide critical acclaim. His educational compositions such as The Tempest, Encanto, and The Great Locomotive Chase have become standards for developing bands throughout the world. And now his Symphony No. 1, The Divine Comedy. Dante Alighieri's epic poem, The Divine Comedy, is universally considered to be one of the greatest literary works of the medieval period, and indeed, all of history. It's a trilogy of allegories mixing biblical and Greek mythological imagery, starring Dante himself as he is taken on a tour of the afterlife. Though it's named a comedy, you'll find there's nothing particularly humorous about it. Keep in mind, during the Middle Ages, when this was written, comedy simply meant a story with a happy ending, which could be a comforting thought, as we begin with a rather heated introduction called The Inferno. Dante begins his journey lost, both as to where he is and lost from the ways of righteousness. Midway upon the journey of our life, he writes, I found myself within a dark forest, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say. What was this forest savage, rough, and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear? So bitter it is. Death is little more, but of the good to treat, which there I found. Speak will I of the other things I saw there. The ancient Roman poet Virgil, a hero of Dante's, suddenly appears to guide and comfort him. He had been sent by Beatrice, Dante's true love, who has passed on some years now, to teach him how to be with her again, and the consequences of continued rebellion. Virgil will show him the 9 circles of hell, divided into 4 major sections reserved for the incontinent, the violent, the fraudulent, and the treacherous. Dante will see the condemned being eternally eaten by harpies, burned in coffins, and marching with leaden shirts. He will see the great wall of Dis, separating inner and outer hell, monsters from the great myths, the half-man, half-bull Minotaur, the 3-headed dog Cerberus, and others will forever torment the inhabitants there. Keep in mind it's a comedy. As they approach the 9th and final circle, a bugle sounds more dreadful and sad than any ever has blown. And finally, in the very center, amidst vast lakes of ice and gales of frozen wind, Dante will behold Satan himself, forever feasting on the flesh of the 3 most infamous traitors in history, Brutus, Cassius, and Judas. Steeling himself against all fear and hesitation, and bolstered by his love for Beatrice and Virgil's reassurance, Dante descends through the wood until he and his guide arrive at a doorway These words in somber color I beheld, written upon the summit of a gate. Through me, the way into the suffering city. Through me, the way to the eternal pain. Through me, the way that runs among the lost. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. Purgatorio. Having beheld the land of eternal suffering and its emperor, Virgil shows Dante a secret stairway out of the inferno. They climb together and reach the shore where, across the water, they behold a tall mountain, steep and beautiful to behold. It is Mount Purgatorio, where souls are purged from all sin and uncleanliness in preparation for the kingdom of heaven. At Purgatory's gate, an angel inscribed 7 P's upon Dante's brow, one for each of the 7 deadly sins, with a sword, and instructs Dante to wash the wounds away as he climbs the 7 steps or the plateaus of the mountain. As Dante climbs, he will behold yet again all manner of pain and suffering, though this time there is a marked difference. These souls, who are enduring such anguish, do not have the hopeless countenance that those in Inferno did. In fact, it seems to Dante that they are grateful for it. To his surprise, he even hears hymns being sung throughout this part of the journey, praising and giving glory to God. The 2 travelers reach another angel guarding a wall of fire, and a beautiful song is heard just beyond it. The memory of hell is still fresh and painful in Dante's mind, and the sight of the flames fills him with terrible fear. But the angel speaks encouragement to him. Holy souls, you cannot move ahead unless the fire has stung you first. Enter the flames, and don't be deaf to the song you will hear beyond. I joined my hands and stretched them out to fend the flames, watching the fire, imagining clearly the human bodies I'd once seen burning. My gentle escorts turned to me, and Virgil said, "My son, though there may be suffering here, there is no death. Be sure, although you were to spend a full 1,000 years within this fire center, your head would not be balder by 1 hair." The Ascension. Having replaced pride with humility, sloth with diligence, greed with temperance, and all other sins with virtues, Dante's climb up Mount Purgatory has come to an end, as has Dante's role as his guide. From here on, it will be none other than Dante's beloved Beatrice who will lead him higher up and further in toward and throughout paradise. He will hear the beautiful song, the music of the spheres, surrounding him, and love. Beatrice looks into the sun, and Dante, following her example, does likewise. In an instant, he is transfigured, transhumanized in Dante's words, in preparation to endure and enjoy holy eternal light. Before they part, Virgil offers these words to his pupil as he sends him off to meet Beatrice. My son, you've seen the temporary fire and the eternal fire. You have reached the place past which my powers cannot see. I've brought you here through intellect and art. From now on, let your pleasure be your guide. You're past the steep and past the narrow paths. Look at the sun that shines upon your brow. Look at the grasses, the flowers, and the shrubs born here, spontaneously of the earth. Among them you can rest or walk until the coming of the glad and lovely eyes. Those eyes that weeping sent me to your side. Await no further word or sign from me. Your will is free, upright and bold. To act against that would be to err. Therefore, I crown and mitre you over yourself. Paradiso. At last, led by Beatrice, Dante has reached the glorious Paradiso, the home and source of all that is good and light. But that does not mean he is at the end of his travels. Beatrice escorts him up and through 9 circles of the heavenly world, each one brighter and more glorious than the last. We hear again the music of the spheres, but with greater and greater brilliance and vibrancy. As the sights and sounds swell to their apex, Dante sees a river of light, which is transformed into a great rose, whose center is the wonderful source of all the lights. The glory of him who moveth everything doth penetrate the universe, and shine in one part more, and in another less. Within that heaven which most his light receives was I, and things beheld which to repeat nor knows nor can, who from above descends. Truly, whatever of the holy realm I had the power to treasure in my mind shall now become the subject of my song.